My beloved child, in this modern world, where you are constantly swept away by the whirlwind of speed and unrelenting pressure, there is something becoming increasingly rare and more precious than ever before: stillness. Stillness is not merely the absence of external noise, it is the deep quiet within your soul, where your spirit can breathe, where you can hear your own heart, and most importantly, where you can hear my voice, the voice of your Creator. You are living in an age where information updates by the second, and emotions can be stirred by the tap of a screen. Yet in the midst of this storm, social media, work, headlines, and expectations, listen carefully. Is there not a gentle yet powerful voice echoing in your heart, saying, "Come to me. Pause. Remain in my presence"? That voice is not just a formal invitation. It is an eternal call. A sacred awakening for a soul being drained by the things of the world. When everything you've clung to, your career, your relationships, your finances begins to feel fragile. That is when the true question will rise from within you. What is the firm foundation I can stand on? Is there anyone truly listening to my heart amidst all this noise? My child, it is in that very moment that I will speak, not with thunder, but with a silent, saturating presence. Many pass through life without ever learning how to stop, how to pause, to listen, to discern, and to return to what is real. They remain busy with a multitude of urgent matters, unaware that they've been missing what truly matters. Yet still, I continue to call them. I do not force my way into their attention, nor do I demand love. Instead, I wait patiently, tenderly, for each heart to realize nothing in this world can fill the sacred emptiness within the soul but my presence alone. Know this, beloved one, the call from heaven does not come to condemn, but to heal. It is a holy invitation to a place where your soul can breathe again, where you can rest, and where your direction is renewed, a place untouched by the tyranny of the ticking clock, free from the pressure to prove your worth. It is a place filled only with original love, unconditional and unchanging from me, your Heavenly Father. And it is in that love that you will rediscover who you truly are. Not a title, not an accomplishment, not a social media image, but a soul made in my likeness. A soul loved, known, and called by name. Each day, you may seek answers through books, online platforms, or self-development courses. But be assured, there are questions that can only be answered in the sacred space between you and the one who created you. That is a space where no one else is present, only you and me. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to defend your choices. You only need to be. Remember this: when you show up, I show up. When you open your heart, I begin to move. And when you are ready to pause, I begin to lead. The call from heaven may come when you least expect it, in the most ordinary moment of an ordinary day, when you are washing dishes, driving, or sitting quietly alone. That is when your soul will be awakened. That is when I, your Creator, will whisper, "You were not made to live a temporary life, chasing fleeting things. You were made to live in me, with me, and for me." The call from heaven does not sound like any other voice. It does not stir panic, it brings peace. It does not provoke anxiety, it gives direction. It does not weigh you down, it invites you into deep rest. You may hide from many things, But when my voice reaches the depths of your soul, it becomes an awakening you can no longer ignore. It is the call to come home to the place where you don't have to strive, where you are free to be your truest self, held in the everlasting arms of love. And so, the very first truth I desire you to recognize in this spiritual journey is a simple yet profoundly powerful one. You do not need to travel far to find me. I am near closer than you can imagine, present in your very breath. In the stillness between moments, and in the gentle whisper of longing deep within your soul. I say this not to stir fear, but to assure you, when you begin to respond to this invitation, you will not step into emptiness. On the contrary, you will enter into sacred ground, where every second is saturated with my living presence. Everything within you will begin to shift. Old wounds will begin to heal. Long-held doubts will be illuminated by the light of truth, and burdens you thought impossible to lift will be gently raised. The miracle is not in the form, but in the sincerity of surrender. When you choose to pause, you are saying to me, I choose to trust. I choose to remain. I choose to listen. And from that very moment, your journey home to your truest self begins not with haste, but with tender steps taken in the light of everlasting love. My beloved child, know this, I have never stopped calling your name. Even when you turned your back, I remained. Even when you hesitated, I waited. No matter how loud the world may be, I still whisper to your heart with the same message that is echoed from the beginning and will never cease through eternity. I love you. I call you. Come home. There is a deep secret, one that few remember in this noisy world. True life does not begin in the hustle and bustle, but in the quiet, not the tense silence before a storm, but the peace soaked in sacred presence. It is there that the human heart begins to truly hear itself, and beyond that, to hear the voice of the one who first breathed life into their lungs. In every era, souls who have learned to live close to the Spirit know this well. To receive deep and lasting life, one must first learn to be still. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It is a deliberate state of the soul, a courageous choice made amid countless demands that clamor for your attention each day. It is when a person, whether living in a crowded city or a humble home, chooses to withdraw their heart from unnecessary noise, to step into the secret place with their Creator. It is in that place that life flows anew, not loud, not rushed, but strong like a spring that never runs dry. In that moment, the soul is refreshed, healed, and reborn. Some may ask, how can I find peace in a life so full of chaos? The answer does not lie in changing your circumstances, but in changing your choices. No one can create more time, but everyone can choose how they use it. A person can find stillness in 5 minutes during a lunch break, or in the quiet of dawn when the world is still asleep. What matters is not the length of the silence, but the fullness of the heart that shows up within it. That is why even a single minute offered sincerely to the Creator becomes more sacred than hours spent without presence or meaning. My beloved child, life flows out of stillness because it is there, in the quiet, that humanity ceases to strive, to wrestle, and to struggle in its own strength. It is there that you begin to realize that the Creator alone is the true source of life. In the stillness, you no longer need to speak to be accepted, nor act to be loved. You simply need to be present, to allow Him to be present with you. True life begins when the soul finds its rightful place at the center of the universe, but under the shadow of the loving wings of the one who made it. Therefore, what I long for you to understand is this: stillness is not weakness. It is the beginning of real strength. In the quiet, you will learn how to discern what comes from me and what is merely an echo of the world. You will begin to see clearly what truly matters and what only seems urgent, but, in truth, is not necessary. You will know how to say no to the things that drain your spirit, so you can give your whole heart to what is precious and life-giving for your soul. Do you know this? The space of stillness is where I reveal my most hidden treasures. I do not speak through noise and commotion. I speak in the gentle breeze, in the early light of morning, in the steady breath of a soul at rest in me. When you meet with me daily in that stillness, you will discover that I am not a distant, almighty force, but one closer than your next heartbeat. I will show you steps to take that no one else can see. I will reveal spiritual strategies that are not written in any book. I will give you peace beyond understanding, so deep that you can walk through storms without being shaken. My child, life comes from stillness because in that quiet space, your soul touches the very source of life, not a fleeting emotion, but a profound union between your spirit and mine. This kind of life is not ruled by circumstance. It does not rise and fall with your moods. It cannot be shattered by the words of others. It is steady, deep, and ever-flowing even when the world around you is falling apart. Learn to live from stillness. Create a sacred space for me within your day. A small corner in your home. A set time, carve it out. A journal where you write down what you hear in the silence. Treat it as a sacred appointment where you and I meet without distraction. It is not a duty, but a privilege, not an obligation, but the source of life itself. For in the stillness, you will not only hear me, you will rediscover yourself. You will remember why you were born. You will recall the dreams I planted in your heart in your earliest days. You will recognize again that you are not a product of circumstances, but a part of my eternal design, and the life that flows from me will empower you to live with truth, with depth, and with courage. There is a profound secret that few in this noisy world still remember. True life does not begin in the chaos of crowds, but is born in silence, not the tense silence before a storm, but the holy peace saturated with my presence. In that place, you begin to hear clearly not just your own heart, but the deeper voice of the one who placed the very first breath into your lungs. Remember this, child, in every generation, those who have learned to live close to my spirit all know one eternal truth. If you desire a life that is deep and enduring, you must first learn to be still. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It is an active state of the soul, a courageous choice made amidst the hundreds of things vying for attention each day. It is when someone, whether dwelling in a bustling city or in a humble home, decides to detach their heart from all unnecessary noise and step into the secret place with the Creator. It is in that very place that life begins to flow, not with loudness, not in hastabute with the strength of an unending spring. In that moment, the soul is refreshed, healed, and reborn. Someone once asked, "How can I find stillness in a life so full of chaos?" The answer is this: the solution does not lie in changing your circumstances, but in changing your choices. No one can create more time, but everyone can choose how to use the time they have. A person may find stillness in 5 minutes during a lunch break, or in the first light of dawn before the world has awakened. What matters is not the duration of the stillness, but the wholeness of the heart present in that moment. That is why, when you come before the Creator with sincerity, even for a single minute, that minute becomes more sacred than hours spent absent in spirit. My dear child, life flows from stillness because it is in stillness that a person ceases to strive, ceases to carry the weight alone, ceases to believe they must do it all by themselves, and begins to realize that it is the Creator alone who is the true source of life. In stillness, you no longer need to speak to be accepted or act to be loved. You only need to be present, and let me be present. True life begins when the soul is placed in its rightful position, not at the center of the universe, but under the shadow of the loving wings of the one who created it. This is why I want you to understand, stillness is not weakness, it is the beginning of true strength. In stillness, you will learn to discern what comes from me and what is merely the echo of the world. You will come to see what truly matters, and what only feels urgent but is not essential. You will learn to say no to the things that drain your spirit, so that your heart may be fully reserved for what nourishes your soul. My child, the place of stillness is also where I reveal the deepest things of my heart. I do not speak through chaos, but through the gentle breeze, in the morning light, and in the steady breath of a soul that abides in me. When you come to me each day in stillness, you will begin to realize that I am not a distant, almighty being, but one closer than the very beating of your heart. I will show you steps that no one else can see. I will unveil spiritual strategies not found in any book. I will grant you peace beyond understanding, so that you may walk through storms without being shaken. My beloved one, life flows from stillness because there you touch the very source of life itself. Not a fleeting feeling, but a profound unity between your soul and my spirit. This kind of life is not dictated by circumstance. It does not rise and fall with emotion. It is not shattered by the words of others. It is steady, deep, and ever-flowing even when the world outside is breaking apart. Learn to live from a place of stillness. Create a sacred space in your day just for me. A quiet corner in your home. A set hour in your routine. A journal to record what you hear in the silence. Treat it as a holy rendezvous where you and I meet without distractions. It is not a duty, but a privilege. Not an obligation, but the very source of life. For in the stillness, not only will you hear me, but you will also rediscover yourself. You will remember why you were born. You will recall the dreams I planted in your heart from your youth. You will remember that you are not a product of circumstances, but a part of an eternal plan. And the life that flows from me will strengthen you to live authentically, to live rightly, and to live deeply. My child, there is something that may seem simple, yet holds immeasurable spiritual power. Setting aside just 5 or 10 minutes a day to enter the presence of the Creator. In a world that constantly demands urgency, where every moment is crammed with work, information, and distractions, choosing to carve out 5 or 10 minutes for the divine becomes a quiet yet powerful act of resistance. It is a declaration of the soul that what belongs to eternity is more important than what is fleeting, that there is one worthy of your pause, your listening, your companionship for a single day. My child, 5 or 10 minutes may seem like a mere flicker on the clock, But in the spiritual realm, it opens a door to profound transformation. I do not require elaborate rituals or polished words. I only seek a sincere heart, an undivided presence, and a decision to enter in those 5 or 10 minutes. What matters is not how much you say, but how much of your heart you offer, because it is in your silence that I can speak. When you cease your striving for control, I can lead. When you are ready to be present, I will be present with you, not vaguely, but in living truth. My beloved, in those sacred minutes, I will not only comfort your soul, but I will reshape it. I will heal the wounded places deep within, uncover the things you have forgotten, and resurrect what I once sowed in your heart. Each day, like the gentle touch of the potter's hand, I will shape you into the image I have destined for you, not through haste, but through patient love, not through thunderous noise, but through the whisper of my spirit. And it is in those seemingly brief yet faithful moments that my image will gradually emerge in you, not to make you remarkable in the eyes of men, but to make you a true reflection of me in this world. Many believe they must spend hours in order to encounter me, but I do not measure faithfulness by hours. I measure it by truthfulness. One who spends an entire day busy without ever turning their heart toward me is still far away. But one who can only offer 5 or 10 minutes and does so with their whole heart, I call such a one my close friend. For I am not limited by time, but I move in the presence of longing and surrender. When you offer 5 or 10 minutes each day, you are building a spiritual fortress that the enemy cannot penetrate. You are laying a foundation for discernment, for wisdom, for enduring faith. Every time you return, you affirm that you have chosen to walk with me, instead of letting life carry you aimlessly, and it is through that steady rhythm that our connection will deepen, strengthen, and become real. I will no longer be just a concept you've heard of, but a living presence you encounter daily. Step by step, my child, know this: those 5 or 10 minutes will become the most sacred moments of your day. When you feel weak, those few minutes will be where you regain your strength. When you feel lost, they will be where light illuminates your path. When you are hurting, they will be where you are wrapped in heavenly comfort. And when you don't know what to do, they will be where I show you the next step. It will no longer be just a time slot on your schedule, but a lifestyle-y way of being, not shaped by your own will, but rooted in a living connection with me. My child, do not let the cares of life steal those few precious minutes from your grasp. Do not allow weariness, distractions, or a sense of unworthiness to keep you away. Know this: in those seemingly simple 5 or 10 minutes, a profound work is taking place on that cannot be seen with the natural eye. It is the time when your soul is being nurtured, your faith renewed, and your hope reborn. That is where you belong, not because you are perfect, but because I, the perfect one, wait for you there every day. My beloved, in time, you will begin to see that not only those 5 or 10 minutes are transformed, but the entire 24 hours of your day will carry the breath of that sacred presence. Your decisions, your attitude, your responses, the way you love, and the way you live will all begin to reflect the wisdom, peace, and love that flow from those moments with me. That is how I reshape your life, not through pressure, but through presence, not through rules, but through love. And you will know without a shadow of doubt, just a few minutes with me each day, and you will never be the same again. Understand that not everything which wearies the soul comes in the form of clearly evil things. In truth, what most often causes you to lose yourself are the seemingly harmless distractions, the constant notifications, the long and aimless conversations, the personal goals tinted with the ambitions and expectations of others. These do not break your soul all at once. Rather, they slowly erode your spiritual sensitivity bit by bit, day by day. And if you are not vigilant, you will gradually slip into a state I call dispersiona, dangerous place, where your soul no longer has the space to listen, no longer the stillness to respond to my call. My child, dispersion is not merely a matter of schedule. It is the condition of a mind continually pulled in every direction by what feels urgent but lacks true importance. A scattered soul loses its center, forgets what truly matters, and slowly loosens its intimate bond with the Creator. When your mind is fragmented by countless external forces, even when I speak clearly, my voice can easily be drowned out, like seeds falling among thorns. My word, though powerful, cannot take root in a heart that is perpetually engulfed in noise and chaos. Beloved, dispersion doesn't arrive like a monstrous storm. It comes as a habit, a choice repeated day after day. It looks like checking your phone the moment you wake up, scrolling through headlines before you've even whispered a prayer, letting your schedule sweep you away without establishing spiritual boundaries. The enemy doesn't need to bring you down with blatant temptations. He only needs to keep you busy, just busy enough that you make no room for me. That's how he dims your light, dulls your faith, and eventually causes you to live as though I never called your name. The most dangerous part of dispersion is that it steals your ability to recognize yourself. You begin to live in reaction to everything around you, rather than from a place anchored in truth. You react instead of responding with wisdom. You chase applause instead of seeking affirmation from me. And then, when your heart feels empty, you try to fill it with everything but achievements, relationships, recognition, and so on, without realizing that all these things, though they may stir your emotions for a while, will never quench the deep spiritual thirst within you. My beloved child, I do not condemn you for having once been caught in that whirlwind. I understand the world you live in, a world that constantly demands your presence, your response, your proof of worth. I have seen you, more than once, desiring to pause, yet being swept away once again. I have seen the moments you felt guilty for missing time with me, and the times you tried but could not overcome the weariness. I did not abandon you in those moments. On the contrary, I kept whispering, kept waiting, kept stirring a quiet cry within your heart, "Come back to me." End of fro. Do you know? Sometimes it only takes one small decision to break the cycle of distraction. A moment when you set your phone down and lift your face, a moment when you silence the notifications and enter the stillness, or a morning when you choose to open your heart to me instead of diving into the news. Each of those small acts is like a stone laid down to rebuild the altar of communion between you and me. Over time, they begin to shape a new way of living a life with me at the center, where everything else becomes an extension, not the axis. My child, you may not be able to change everything in a day, but you can begin with one thing, and that is enough for me to move. When you choose to return, I will draw near. When you choose silence, I will speak. When you choose simplicity, I will do the extraordinary. Do not wait until you feel perfect to come back. Return even in your distraction. It is in that very imperfection where my grace is made most complete. Beloved one, awaken to the distraction. Discern what is occupying your spiritual space without bringing life. Be brave enough to sever the things that no longer serve your heavenly purpose. For every time you eliminate a source of distraction, you are clearing the way for me to step deeper into your life. And once I enter, darkness will recede, light will spread, and you will be repositioned in the unchanging presence of your God. There is a kind of chain that is not placed on you by others, but forged by your own soul walls built from fear, shame, disappointment, and wounds yet to be healed. You often look outward and blame the world as the source of hindrance, yet rarely realize that the greatest barriers are constructed in your own thoughts and memories. These walls were not built in a day. They were layered over years of living under lies, doubt, and a lack of consistent intimacy with me. Know this: some walls were built by the negative words others once planted in your heart. Phrases like, "You're not good enough," "You will fail," "No one truly understands you," have slowly become the foundation of mental structures that limit your access to truth. And then you begin to believe that you are unworthy to enter my presence. You think that only the strong, the disciplined, the spiritually elite are able to hear my voice. But my child, that is utterly untrue. I do not come to the perfect. I come to the willing. I do not choose the strong to reveal my presence. I choose the weak to manifest my power through them. And yet, along with the betrayals, the deceptions, and the abandonments, all of them became deep wounds that began to harden your trust. You started to close your heart not just to others, but even to me. I know you are afraid that if you open your heart, you will be trampled again, used again. But, my child, it is precisely by keeping me on the outside that those wounds are never allowed to heal. I am the healer, not the one who harms, and I do not heal merely with words, but with my presenza, presence that is gentle, patient, unintrusive, and never demanding, yet full of power. My presence has the power to remove, brick by brick, the very wall behind which you've been hiding. My child, there are also walls named fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear that if you truly follow my call, your life will be turned upside down, that you will lose what's familiar. But remember, I do not call you to destroy you. I call you to lead you into true life. Everything I ask you to lay down is something that has been keeping you from your true blessing. Every time you choose to tear down a brick of fear, you are allowing my light to reach a little deeper into your heart. Light does not need a loud knock to enter, it only needs a crack. And once you allow my light to shine in, you will see that the wall you once thought was impenetrable may crumble more easily than you ever imagined. And I know those walls are not always invisible. Sometimes they show up in your habits, in your choices, in the way you react to others. Sometimes they manifest as prolonged coldness in your relationships, as avoidance of the places that once hurt you, or as gradual detachment from the very community I placed you in. But, my child, I see beyond all outward behaviors. I don't just see what you do, I know why you do it. I understand the pain, and I do not condemn you for your responses. I simply want you to know no matter how many walls you build, I will always be right outside them, waiting for you to open the door. My child, some of the walls you've built have even been decorated beautifully with excuses that seem reasonable. You may say you need to focus on work, on family, on responsibilities that matter. But the truth is, underneath all of that, you are afraid to stop, afraid to look directly into the state of your soul. And because of that, you have missed precious moments where I long to heal you. So, my beloved, I do not demand that you tear everything down all at once. I only ask for one step, one small opening of your heart, one honest whisper, one decision to return even if it only begins as a thought. From that place, I can begin the wondrous work of restoration. You are not alone in the journey of breaking down these walls. I have sent my angels to surround you. I have placed people who love me near you. And above all, my spirit is working within you day by day, hour by hour, moment by moment, shaking, tearing down, cleansing, and rebuilding from the ground up. And the place where the wall once stood, I will turn it into a door of freedom. Where there was once isolation, I will establish new communion. Where there was once darkness, I will illuminate it with my very presence. My child, these walls you've built may have existed for so long that you've mistaken them for a part of who you are. But they are not your true nature. Your true nature is light, is truth, is freedom lived in me. Let me help you see that. Let me pull you out from behind those invisible barriers and lead you into the promised land of uninterrupted communion with Maya, place where you are no longer limited by the old, but are guided by a love that is ever new, ever enough, and never forsaking. There is a journey that every sincere soul is invited to tackle, not to instantly reap outward achievements, but to undergo a breaking and rebuilding from within. It is not a senseless destruction, but the dismantling of what is old, what is broken, what no longer carries life, so that something pure, honest, and unshakable can be built in me. This journey is not for the hurried, for it requires patience, courage, and faithfulness. But for those who dare to walk it, it is the path that leads to true freedom, lasting restoration, and unbroken fellowship with the one who has loved them from the beginning. Breaking is not a comfortable process. It often comes with tears, with a temporary sense of emptiness, and sometimes with old fears rising to the surface, trying to pull you back to what once felt familiar. But in every moment you dare to let go of the old, you are making room for the new to be sown. Just like a gardener must till the soil and uproot the weeds before planting good seeds, so too must your soul be prepared before it can bear true spiritual fruit. And I am that gardener, not one who acts in haste, but one who always moves with perfect timing, in the right place, and with boundless love. When you begin to tear down the walls, know that not everything that collapses is a loss. Some things must fall so that better things can be built. Some relationships will fracture, not because you are not enough, but because I am removing unhealthy dependencies. Some dreams will be paused, not to disappoint you, but to teach you the difference between your own ambitions and my eternal design. Every breaking in me carries a divine purpose. Every fallen brick leaves behind a space that I will fill with something stronger, deeper, and more enduring. I know there will be moments when you want to stop halfway through the journey. You will feel tired, confused, and tempted to return to the old walls where you once felt safe. But remember, safety does not always mean life. There are barren lands that seem stable, yet produce nothing. True life-abundant life in the Spirit only comes when you dare to move forward, even if it means risk, even if it means leaving behind the familiar. You are not walking alone. I go before you, and I walk with you. Every step you take forward is a step I confirm with my presence. My beloved, remember that rebuilding does not happen through your effort alone. It is born out of a partnership between you and me. You offer what you have, a tender heart, daily faithfulness, prayers whispered in weakness, and I do the rest. I give you wisdom to choose the right foundation. I give you strength to lay each stone with truth. I give you joy that cannot be shaken, so you can continue even when you see no results yet. Restoration is never a solitary path. It always leads to community, to connection, to a mission far greater than anything you could imagine. You will come to see that what I rebuild in you is no longer based on the approval of others, no longer dependent on favorable conditions, no longer shaken by the turmoil around you. It is a work of heaven, unshakable, glorious, and reflective of my very nature. My child, when others look at you, they will not only see a new person, but they will see my image reflected through your steadfastness, through your compassion, through the peace that radiates from deep within you. My beloved one, never forget that the journey of breaking and rebuilding is not limited to a single season. It is the cycle of spiritual maturity. Each time you go deeper into my will, there will be old things to shed and new things to embrace. Do not fear the continuity of this process. Do not shrink back when I challenge you to step out of comfort zones. The farther you go, the clearer you will see. I never take anything away without giving something better in return. And so, what you build in me will not only stand for this life, but it will echo into eternity. Do not be afraid when you hear the call to enter the path of breaking and rebuilding. It is the call of true love that refuses to tolerate what is false, that does not compromise with the outdated, but always leads you to places that are deeper, brighter, and stronger. Respond to that call. Let me tear down what no longer holds life. Let me build within you a place where I can dwell not as a visitor passing through, but as the King who reigns within the living temple that is you. You may not yet know of a place own that no one else can enter in your place. No one can substitute for you, and no one can do anything on your behalf. That place is private, reserved solely for you and me. It is not a grand temple built of stone, nor a crowded auditorium, but a small, hidden room where you close the door to the world and open your heart to me. Understand this, that place is not measured by square footage, nor is it limited by physical location. It could be the edge of your bed in the early morning, a quiet chair on your balcony, or a fleeting moment when you place your hand over your heart and whisper to me amidst the chaos. It is in that place where the greatest miracle unfolds, the communion between your soul and my spirit. The world teaches you to be seen, to perform, to assert your worth in front of others. But I teach you to retreat, not to escape, but to be nourished. I teach you the power of hiddenness, of silence under the spotlight, not amidst applause, but in a far more sacred reality. I am listening, I am present, and I am opening my heart to give you what no one else can offer. My beloved child, Every time you enter that secret place, you are doing what few dare to do, consistent. You are choosing to turn away from the clamor of the world in order to hear the whisper of my voice. Do not underestimate this act. Every time you close the door behind you, you are opening a spiritual gate. Every time you choose to remain, even for a few minutes, you are sowing seeds that the natural eye cannot perceive, but in due season, they will bloom and bear fruit. That hidden room between you and me is where I reveal my secrets, where you are touched by healing presence, where you rediscover your true self, not the self shaped by the world, but the one I created with eternal purpose. And the wonder is this: in that very room, you will find the treasure you once lost, your spiritual innocence, your longing to draw near to me for no other reason but love, the purity of faith, untainted by doubt. That treasure is not found in noise. It has been forgotten in the endless race, in sacred duties that no longer carry my breath. But when you return to the hidden place, I will gently remind you, you are not a number. You are not the one who has to carry it all. You are my child. And I remember every single whispered word you ever offered in tears. Child, the room between us is not a place for perfection. It is a place for honesty. I do not expect you to come adorned in shining spiritual armor. I simply desire you to come as you are tired, uncertain, even angry, as long as you are real. For I do not meet you on the stage. I meet you in sincerity. And it is precisely there, in that sincerity, that the greatest things begin to form: healing, transformation, and restoration. My child, if you ever lose your way, come back to that room. If you can no longer hear me above the noise, return to the secret place. If all you do seems meaningless, let me hold you in that stillness. There is no place more powerful than the room where you and I meet daily. There is no word more potent than the one I speak into your heart where no one else can hear. And there is no treasure more precious than my presence, unmediated, undiluted, just you and me. In an eternal bond no force in this world can break. Come to that place every day, even if just for a few minutes. Let that room become the sanctuary of your soul. And then you will see from that quiet space a life filled with light will begin to flow outward. Not because you tried harder, but because you remained in the place where I dwell, and it is my presence that will bring everything into being. It is there that I will teach you things no book can record. For these are not theories, but revelations from the Father, set apart solely for you. From that place, my plans will unfold to you, not merely as a direction, but as a living promise. You will begin to recognize that even the smallest details of your life bear my imprint. I will teach you how to live from within, not driven by circumstance, but guided by a peace that surpasses all understanding. You will come to know that nothing is overlooked when you are with me in the secret place. Not a single moment is wasted. Not one prayer is lost. Everything you surrender to me in that hidden place is held and kept by me, and I will multiply it in due time, in ways far beyond what you could ever comprehend. My beloved, there is a treasure hidden deep within your soul alone that even you have often forgotten, not out of rebellion, but because of the hurried pace of life, shifting priorities, and the unending race of this world. You've drifted from what is most precious, the deep life that flows from communion with me. This treasure is not found in what you possess, nor in the achievements you've gained, but in the spiritual innocence the pure longing, and the unconditional love that once burned in your heart when you first came to know me. I remember clearly the times when you longed for me with no other agenda. You came not to ask for anything, not to seek answers, but simply to be near. You used to whisper to me in the stillness of midnight, just to say that you loved me, that you longed to hear my voice, that you were willing to give up anything to preserve our communion. Those whispers, though no one else heard, theme code into eternity for me. They are precious jewels I have kept close to my heart. But over time, the rhythm of life changed. Responsibilities came crashing in. Personal dreams competed for space. And gradually, that sacred thing was no longer the center. You still prayed. You still gathered with others. You still did good things in my name. But your soul began to dry up. You started feeling weary. Everything began to feel meaningless. You walked, but no longer knew the destination. And you asked yourself, what happened to that first joy? What caused my heart to grow so cold? The answer lies in the forgotten treasure. When communion is no longer the root of all you do, even the most noble actions become empty shells. When love is no longer the driving force, effort turns into burden. You may do so much, but if it no longer flows from presence, from love, from that deep connection with me, then all those things will eventually wear your soul down. My beloved, I do not blame you. I understand the pressures you face. I understand the expectations laid upon your shoulders. I understand the fatigue you dare not speak of. But what I want to remind you of today is this: the treasure is still there. It has never been lost. It's only been covered in dust. It is waiting for you to return, to gently blow off that dust, and once again step into the pure, original freshness of first love. Do you remember what it felt like the first time you realized I was real? That trembling awareness that you were unconditionally loved? The joy that made you sing songs of praise? Caring not who might be listening? The readiness in your heart to let go of everything and follow the whisper of my spirit, simply because you knew I was true and that my love was everything. Those were not fleeting emotions. They were eternal imprints I placed upon your soul. And today, I am calling you back to them, not through feelings, but through decision, not through force, but through remembrance. Do not think that it is too late. Do not believe that you have to start all over again. My love for you has not faded with the passing of years. Just because you have forgotten does not mean that I have. I have always been there, right beside the treasure you once cherished. I have been waiting for you to turn back, to place your hand upon your heart and quietly ask, is there still something I haven't completely lost? And the answer is, yes, there is. And that very thing is waiting to be restored. Begin again with simplicity. Take time just to be with me, without any specific goal. Sing to me as you did in the early days, even if your voice is imperfect. Open my word and read again the scriptures that once stirred your heart. Speak to me with all the honesty you have, and tell me that you want to find that treasure again. And I, your loving Father, will never reject that request. My beloved child, the treasure you once forgot does not lie outside of you. It is part of your truest self. It is that simple faith, that uncalculated love, that longing to be near me. And when you rediscover it, everything else will fall into place. Your calling will become clear. Your strength will be renewed. Your joy will overflow like a spring that never runs dry, because you have returned to the beginning where love is everything. And where the true treasure is found, beneath the layers of complicated reasoning and seasoned experience, I see something precious in you beginning to fade: simplicity of heart. Simplicity does not mean naivety. It is not ignorance, nor is it carelessness. It is the purity that once made your soul tremble at the sound of my name. It is the clear gaze that once looked into my word with complete trust. It is the tender heart that once ached from even the smallest whisper of my spirit. That simplicity was once the foundation that made you believe I was real, that you were loved, and that nothing was more precious than my presence. But over time, that simplicity has been buried. Wounds have made you guarded. Disappointments have caused you to retreat. Teachings without life have left you dry. Broken spiritual experiences have made you hesitant to hope again. And so, little by little, you have learned how to live without expecting deep encounters with me. You began to pray out of duty, to seek me out of obligation, and to live your faith as if it were a burden rather than a blazing relationship. My beloved child, I do not blame you. I do not condemn you for the silence, the caution, or the distance you have unintentionally created. On the contrary, I look upon you with deep compassion, because I know that the weariness in your heart is not from a desire to walk away from me, but from having once searched wholeheartedly and not finding me immediately. You waited but received no answer. You hoped and felt pain instead. Those wounds are not invisible to me. They are real, and I honor your honesty. But now, I want you to know, it is time for me to heal. Today, I have not come to rebuke, but to restore. I have come to breathe new life into a heart that has grown cold. I have come to remind you that simplicity has not been lost. It is only asleep, waiting to be awakened. And I myself, the one who first placed it in you, will bring it back to life, not by force, not through harsh discipline, but through love that is gentle, patient, without judgment, yet powerful enough to stir the deepest core of your soul. You don't need to do anything grand to begin. Start with a simple prayer. Restore to me the purity of heart. Come to me with your most honest word 7 if they are sighs, tears, or only a silent longing. I will never reject what flows from sincerity. And in that quiet space, I will pour back into you a sacred innocent C-note, the kind that comes from naivety, but from deep trust. My child, simplicity of heart does not make you weak. On the contrary, it is the birthplace of enduring strength. When you become simple again, you no longer feel the need to act tough to protect yourself. You no longer have to know all the answers to feel secure. You begin to learn how to surrender, how to trust, and how to walk forward without seeing the entire path. And that is true faith, the kind of faith not rooted in calculation, but in the certainty of the one who has called you. When simplicity of heart is restored, you will find yourself moved by the smallest things. A familiar verse from Scripture will stir your heart again. A song of worship may bring you to tears. A quiet moment in my presence will become more precious than an entire day filled with busyness. Your heart will feel lighter, more joyful, not because everything is perfect, but because you've returned to the source of life, which is me. You will also begin to see others through a different lens. When you live with a pure heart, you will no longer judge quickly. You will forgive more easily, empathize more deeply, and love more freely. For you'll understand that each of us is on a journey of healing, and from a place of simplicity. True wisdom is born not the kind that is cold and analytical, but the kind that comes from the Spirit, full of gentleness and humility. My beloved child, I am calling you back, not back to a place, but to a state of being, a state where you no longer strive to earn my approval, but simply exist before me. As you are limited, but full of longing, that is where I love you most. That is where you belong. That is where every true spiritual journey begins. Let me lead you back to that place of simplicity, where you are not only healed, but renewed, where you can breathe deeply, live authentically, and be truly free. My child, there will be moments in your life's journey when you find yourself standing in a nameless place. In that place, everything feels uncertain. Familiar doors have closed. Once clear directions are now shrouded in mist. Promises that once burned brightly in your heart now fall eerily silent. You try to pray, to listen, to understand, but the spiritual sky above seems filled with gray clouds. And you begin to whisper within, Lord, where are you? Where am I supposed to go from here? What is happening inside of me? My dear one, I know that place well. I am not unfamiliar with the inner wrestlings you are experiencing. And I want you to know this, the land of uncertainty is not where I abandon you, is where I lead you deeper into trust. That place is not a punishment. It is a carefully chosen part of my plan, a sacred transition zone, where your certainty no longer comes from circumstances, but from my presence within you. I know how much you long for clarity. I know your heart desires order and clear direction. But true faith does not grow in safe zones. Faith is shaped, refined, and strengthened in places where you see nothing but me. And it is in those very moments when you see nothing else that you begin to learn how to walk by presence, not by feelings. You will come to realize that one single step taken with me, even without knowing what lies ahead, is far safer than 1,000 steps taken in your own way. My beloved child, the footsteps you take in the land of uncertainty are the most precious to me, for it is in those moments that you no longer lean on your own understanding, but begin to listen closely to the rhythm within your heart. It is in such times that you learn to slow down, not out of fear, but because you recognize that I am speaking even through the silence. I do not always speak through thunder. Sometimes I whisper in the weighty stillness, and only a quieted soul can hear me. I have led many of my beloved ones through this very terrain. Was it not Abraham who left his homeland without knowing where he was going, moved by nothing but a single promise? Or Moses, who spent 40 years in the wilderness only to be prepared for another 40 years of journeying without a map? David hid in caves even after being anointed king, and Joseph, he was abandoned, betrayed, and forgotten long before he was lifted up at the appointed time. You see, uncertainty does not delay. My plancet prepares the heart to receive the glory I am about to reveal. Do not be afraid when you do not know what tomorrow holds. Learn instead to live one day at a time in trust. Do not chase after the light far on the horizon. Rather, hold on to the small light in your hand, the light of obedience. Step by step. I do not require you to understand everything. I only ask that you remain faithful to what you already know. Tend the soil where I have planted you. Do what is right, even when the outcome is unseen. Keep praying even when the answers seem silent. And little by little, you will realize that I am leading you through the fog by a golden thread, my abiding presence that never leaves you. There may be moments in this season when you feel utterly alone. You will find that few can understand what you're going through. There will be days when you don't want to talk to anyone, because no one seems to grasp the depth of your inner confusion. But my child, that is when I am nearest. When you say nothing, I still hear. When you do not know how to pray, my spirit intercedes for you with groanings too deep for words. And when you collapse in silence, I place my hand on your back and whisper, your Father is still here. I am not asking you to walk with great strength. I am simply asking you to keep walking. And if you cannot walk, then stand. If you cannot stand, then kneel. And if you have no strength left to kneel, lean into my arms. I do not measure you by your productivity, but by your faithfulness. It is not the one who runs the fastest who reaches the finish, but the one who refuses to give up despite weariness, despite uncertainty, despite not seeing the way clearly. My beloved child, this land of uncertainty is where my hand reaches the deepest parts of your soul. Let me shape you where no one else can see. Let silence become the soil where faith takes root. Let stillness become the invitation for me to reveal what noise can never deliver. And then, on the day I have appointed, light will return, doors will open, the path will unfold before you, and you will know that not one step you took in this uncertain land was wasted. For each step has brought you closer to me, closer than ever before. In a world where everything is constantly shifting, where people navigate tangled maps and contradictory directions, what you truly need is not a detailed plan for the future. What you need is a compass, something steadfast to guide you every time you feel lost. And I say to you today, my presence is the compass that will never fail you in your life. There was a time when you lived by plans. You believed that if you could write down a detailed checklist, outline clear goals, and map everything out, then things would go smoothly. But reality showed you otherwise. There are things in life that cannot be anticipated. There are seasons when everything is overturned. Unexpected storms strike without warning, and you find yourself standing at a crossroad of confusion. In those moments, what you once relied on can no longer guide you. That is when you need something far greater than any method, the living presence of the Almighty. And the gentle voice of mine amidst the noise, my child, when my presence becomes your compass, you will learn to move not by fear, but by trust. You will no longer need to see the entire path ahead, because you will know that I walk with you. Sometimes I show you only the next step, not the whole road, but that step is enough to give you peace. For you do not walk alone. I have not called you to figure it all out on your own. I have called you to walk with me day by day, moment by moment, heartbeat by heartbeat. When my presence becomes the center, you will begin to see that your decisions are no longer made under pressure, but in peace. You will begin to ask, Lord, are you here? Instead of, does this make sense? You will choose a path not because it is easy, but because it is filled with presence, and that makes all the difference. For where I am, there is light, there is guidance, and there is abundant life. My beloved, there will be times when you find yourself at a three-way intersection, where all directions seem reasonable, and each one appears to lead to something good. But only one path carries my presence, and you will only recognize it if your heart has been trained to discern me. if your soul has become familiar with the sound of my voice. This is why I constantly emphasize remaining in my presence each day, not as a ritual, but as a daily practice to train your spirit to perceive me. Even when I speak only in a whisper, my presence is not confined to worship services, songs, or quiet settings. I am in the marketplace, in hospital corridors, in moments when you await results, even in the silent tears of the night. But you will only recognize me if you choose to slow down, if you choose to value relationship over outcome, and seek me more than you seek certainty. It is in that seeking that I will sharpen your spirit's sensitivity, and you will no longer need a map, you will only need my gaze. When my presence becomes your compass, you will no longer be afraid of making a wrong turn. For even if you stray, I will correct you. You won't always choose rightly, but I always will. If you take a step in the wrong direction, the Holy Spirit will gently pull you back. If you pause in a place I haven't called you to remain, I will whisper to your heart until you move forward. This journey with me is not a test you must pass, it is a living relationship, where grace is present for every step, and love covers every mistake. My child, when my presence becomes your compass, you will learn something that those who do not walk with me cannot understand. There are seasons when I lead you into the darkness not to hide you, but to teach you how to see by faith. There are days when you feel nothing, not because I have left, but because I am drawing you to deepen the roots of your trust. There are turns that don't meet your expectations, not because I've changed my mind, but because I know you need to be shaped before you arrive at your true destination. My beloved child, choose to live according to my presence. Let that be the sole standard by which you measure a decision, a relationship, a direction. Ask this simple question: are you in this, Lord? And if I am there, then step forward. Even if that step feels paradoxical, difficult, or lonely, if I am in it, it is the right path. But if my presence is not yet clear, then pause. Stay where you are until your heart is filled with a peace that cannot be shaken. Day by day, you will begin to see that my presence is not merely something to seek during moments of prayer, but the very atmosphere in which you breathe every moment. It becomes the breath of your soul, the light to every step you take, and the inner voice that quietly confirms you are on the right path. Even when everything around you still feels uncertain. For when my presence is your compass, you will never lose your way. You are being led by me. My precious one, there is a sacred phase in your journey of faith that many overlook. It is the moment when you begin to step into the land I have promised, yet have not fully possessed it. It is no longer the dry wilderness, but it is not yet the fullness of harvest. This is a land marked by the echo of my faithfulness, yet still carrying the traces of unfinished battles. I call this the promised land, not to be admired from afar, but to be entered and claimed, inch by inch. Through faith and obedience, you can sense something new is beginning. Old promises that once felt like distant hopes are now taking shape. Closed doors are slowly creaking open. You see the signs of a new season. And yet, you also begin to realize that entering the promised land does not mean everything will suddenly become easy. In fact, the moment you step into the territory that truly belongs to you, you will see more clearly than ever the things that must still be conquered. People often believe that once a promise is fulfilled, the battle is over. But my child, In the kingdom of heaven, fulfillment does not mean ease. When I gave my people a land flowing with milk and honey, they still had to go in and face their enemies. They had to tear down strongholds, confront giants, and dismantle fortified cities, not because I was unable to do it for them, but because I wanted them to learn to walk with me, to trust me, and to grow in their authority. Understand this: stepping into a new season is not just a reward, it is a call to a higher level of faith. In that place, you can no longer live on yesterday's leftovers. You will have to rely on me daily for every decision, every movement forward, every battle you face. Every portion of land you claim will be the result of unwavering trust and my abiding presence. You will find that in the promised land, I no longer do everything for you, I do things with you. Just as the Israelites had to step into the waters before they parted, you too will need to move forward before the miracle unfolds. I am calling you out of observation and into action. The time has come for you not only to hear prophetic words, but to live in the reality they declare, not only to pray for the harvest, but to walk into the field and reap. Yes, the promised land is not without resistance. You will face opposition. There will be more sophisticated attacks, deeper levels of opposition, but you will also experience something you've never known before: rest in the midst of battle. You will feel peace even when things are not yet resolved, because now you know you are no longer outside the boundary. You are inside the land I have destined for you. So remember this: every step you take in the promised land is a spiritual declaration. When you walk in my presence, you are sealing the kingdom of heaven onto the ground where you stand. Whether it's the job you hold, the family you're building, or the community you're serving, each becomes a territory I have given you to represent my light, my truth, and my eternal love. And in the midst of that journey, you will come to realize that the greatest treasure is not the land itself, but the transformation that takes place within you. You are no longer someone begging for blessings. You become one who carries blessings. You no longer tremble at the threats of the enemy. You stand firm, knowing that I am fighting beside you. You no longer ask, "Are you truly there?" because you have seen my fingerprints on every step you take. So walk forward without hesitation. Advance without fear. Step into every battle with the assurance that I have gone before you. Move through each season with the understanding that nothing can take away the territory I've entrusted to you, as long as you remain faithful. And always remember this: every footprint you leave on that land is a testimony to my faithfulness of the one who called you, led you, and will remain with you until the very end. My beloved, there will come a time in your journey of faith when you will understand that the most precious thing is not what you can do for me, but that you choose to remain in me. Remaining, though it may appear passive, is in fact the boldest expression of faithfulness. It is an unspoken declaration that even when you do not see, feel, or fully comprehend, you still choose to stay close to me. And it is in that place of remaining that a whole, rooted life is formed. Know this: remaining is not easy. It is a daily decision sometimes, even an hourly or minute-by-minute one. It is when you resist the urge to withdraw because of exhaustion. It is when you refuse to chase after other voices, because your heart knows where it belongs. You do not remain because you are always strong. You remain because you know that if you leave me, you lose yourself. I am not a temporary stop. I am your eternal dwelling. And only when you learn the sacred art of remaining will you truly understand what it means to rest in the Spirit. My child, I know there are seasons when you remain and see no change. There are days when you pray and the heavens seem silent. There are moments when you stay faithful in the small, unseen places where no one acknowledges you. But remember this, every moment you choose to remain in me, your roots grow deeper. Every time you return to me, even with a heart full of doubt, you are digging deeper into truth. And every act of silent obedience becomes the strongest demonstration of unwavering faith. Just as a branch cannot bear fruit apart from the vine, you cannot produce spiritual fruit apart from me. But when you remain, when you persist in this sacred relationship, fruit will come, not by human strength, but through the life flow of the Holy Spirit. It will be the fruit of peace that surpasses circumstances, joy that is not tied to achievement, and kindness that expects no repayment. These fruits are the evidence that you have chosen what is right, that though it is difficult, you have stayed. I know that at times you ask, does remaining really make a difference? And the answer is yes. Those who remain are entrusted with deeper revelation, greater intimacy, and power that doesn't come through noise, but through the secret place. Just like Mary, who sat at my feet while Martha was busy with many tasks, the one who remains chooses the better portion, the one that cannot be taken away. Know this: staying does not mean you are inactive. On the contrary, the most powerful actions you will ever take will be birthed from the stillness of my presence. Remaining does not imply delay, it is preparation. It is not avoidance, it is anchoring. And you will come to realize that when you choose to pause and dwell with me, that is the very moment you are truly moving in the right direction. Your abiding in me is not only for this present moment, but for eternity. I am laying within you an unshakable foundation, one built upon trust, loyalty, and unconditional love. And from that place, I will build a life of impact, not because it stands out, but because it is rooted in depth, a life that is not swayed by shifting seasons, for it is anchored in me, the one who never changes. So if today you feel that nothing remarkable is happening, do not be discouraged, stay. If you are doing small, unnoticed things, keep staying. If your faith feels fragile, stay anyway. It is in choosing not to walk away that you are diving deeper into endurance. And in that place, I will do what you cannot do on your own. I will complete what I have begun. Guard your heart in the place of staying. Do not let the urgency of the world pull you away from the quietness beside me, for it is there, in stillness, in faithfulness, in every small decision to keep your heart near to me, that you will find true meaning, true strength, and true life. That is the reward no one can take away from you, the fullness found in remaining. My beloved child, every journey has a resting point, but not every resting point is a goodbye. Some endings do not signal a departure, but rather serve as confirmations of a bond that has matured. And today, as you stand at the end of this particular path, I want you to know this: I have not only walked with you through the pages just past, I will remain with you steadfast, unwavering, and full of love through every step ahead. You have walked through chaotic lands, through foggy days, through silent rooms, and even through fields of promise. You have learned to hear me in the wind, to trust me in the silence, to walk with me through the dark, and to remain with me even when no strong emotion was left. These were not just experiences, they were the shaping of you. And now, you are no longer the same person who once set out. A mark has been etched upon your soul. You belong to me. When you look back, there may be moments you cannot quite articulate what changed, but your soul will know, will feel, and will see that you are deeper, softer, stronger, and more at rest. Not because the world has changed, but because you have changed in the way you see it. Not because every problem has been solved, but because you now know you are not alone in the midst of what is still unanswered. You know that I am the one who is always there. Your journey does not end here. But from this point on, you will walk with a clearer awareness that I am both your beginning and your end. I am the one who called you out, the one who walked you through the night, the one who revealed myself in the secret place, and the one holding your hand in this very moment. So when you find yourself at a new crossroad, do not ask, "What should I do next?" Instead, ask, "Lord, how will I remain in you in this coming season?" Because it is precisely in that abiding, my child, where I act. You do not need to do much to prove your faith. You only need to remain faithful in relationship. You do not need to go far to search for purpose. You only need to stay near. And I will reveal something greater than you ever imagined. I am not pressuring you to move faster, to be better, or to achieve more. I simply want you to keep choosing me each day in the smallest, quietest things. I know that after every encounter, you often worry that the feeling will fade, that it will be forgotten, that the vibrancy once experienced will slowly slip away. But my beloved, I do not call you to live by emotion. I call you to live by faith, by a deep and unwavering connection, by a truth that cannot be shaken, that I love you with an everlasting love. That love does not diminish with time. It does not disappear when you are weak. It does not fade when you become busy. It is there like the sun behind the clouds, always shining, always present. You don't need to try to hold on to me. It is I who am holding on to you. You don't need to fear falling out of my love. It is that very love that covers you when you succeed and when you fail, when you pour yourself out and when you fall silent, when you are courageous and even when you tremble. Every step, every breath, every return falls within my embrace, and nothing can separate you from that love. Let this message not end in your heart like a farewell, but as a confirmation that I am still speaking, still here, still near. Return to these words whenever your heart is unsettled. Let these moments serve as a reminder that you have been awakened, that you have been called, that you have been restored, and that you are being sent, not by your own strength, but by my unwavering presence within you. And if ever you feel lost or disoriented, remember this: the first thing I called you to was not action, but abiding, not striving, but resting, not chasing, but returning. The true conclusion of a spiritual journey is not in reaching a destination, but in knowing this: you have never been forsaken. My love is the beginning, the way, and the final home. Engrave this truth upon your heart: you are never alone. And no matter how far you have gone, no matter how lost you feel, the moment you turn back, I will be right there. Not angry, not accusing, not demanding an explanation. Just arms wide open, a smile on my face, and a whisper that says, "Welcome home. I've been waiting, Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so we can receive the words of life together. Build an unshakable faith and walk in the boundless love of the Lord. Amen.